4 of us went into Blackwood Cave on a dare last weekend, and only I came out. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that when I crawled out of that cave, covered in blood and dirt and screaming, the search and rescue team went in to find my friends, and they found nothing. No bodies, no blood, no evidence anyone else had ever been in that cave at all. Just me and the things I brought back with me. My name is Alex, and 3 days ago I watched my 3 best friends die in the darkness of that cave. I watched something that shouldn't exist tear them apart, one by one, while I hid and did nothing. And now I'm the only one who remembers they ever existed, because when the police checked, there are no records of them, no social media accounts, no birth certificates, no family members claiming them gone. It's like they were erased from reality, and everyone looks at me like I'm insane when I talk about them. But I know they were real. I have the scars to prove it. I have their blood under my fingernails. And I have something else, something I found in the deepest chamber of that cave. Something that followed me out. Something that's been whispering to me ever since, telling me the truth about what happened. Telling me that my friends aren't dead, they're still in the cave. They're part of the cave now. And if I don't go back, if I don't return what I took, they're going to suffer forever in the darkness. And I can hear them screaming every night. I can hear Jake and Mia and Chris begging me to come back, begging me to save them. The police think I murdered them, think I hid the bodies and made up this story about a cave monster. They're watching me, waiting for me to slip up, waiting for me to lead them to the bodies. But there are no bodies to find, because what took my friends doesn't leave bodies. It takes something else. It takes their existence itself and replaces them in reality with nothing, with emptiness, with a hole where they used to be. And the thing I brought back from the cave, it's in my basement right now, wrapped in blankets, locked in a box. And it's getting bigger every day. And it's hungry. And I think I made a terrible mistake bringing it out. I think I doomed everyone, not just my friends, but everyone. Because this thing, this artifact, this piece of the cave, it doesn't belong in our world. And having it here is tearing holes in reality. And soon, nothing will be real, and we'll all be like my friends, trapped in the darkness that exists between existence and nothing. Let me tell you what really happened. Let me tell you about the 4 of us, about how we decided to explore Blackwood Cave, about how we thought it would be an adventure, about how wrong we were. We were all seniors in college. Spring break had just started. We'd been friends since freshman year. Jake was the adventurous one, always pushing us to do crazy things, always looking for the next thrill. Mia was the smart one, pre-med, always practical, always prepared. Chris was the funny one, could make anyone laugh, even in the worst situations. And me? I was just Alex, the one who went along with whatever the group decided, the one who never said no. Jake found out about Blackwood Cave from some urban exploration forum. Apparently, it was a restricted area, closed to the public after several people went missing in there back in the 1970s. But Jake said that just made it more interesting. Said we'd be legends if we explored it and documented it. Said it would be the perfect adventure for spring break. Mia was against it. Said it was dangerous. Said there was a reason it was restricted. But Jake kept pushing, and eventually we all agreed. We'd go in together, stay together, document everything, and be out by sunset. We drove out there Friday morning. The cave entrance was in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours from campus, deep in national forest land. There was a rusted chain link fence around it with faded warning signs. Danger, no trespassing, cave system unstable, but the fence had been cut open, probably by other explorers, and we squeezed through easily. The entrance was a vertical shaft, maybe 10 feet across, dropping straight down into darkness. Jake had brought climbing gear, ropes, harnesses, headlamps. He'd done this before, had explored dozens of caves, said he knew what he was doing, and we trusted him. We always trusted Jake. We descended one by one. Jake first, then Mia, then Chris, then me. The rope felt secure, the harness felt tight, and as I lowered myself into the darkness, I remember thinking this was exciting. This was exactly the kind of thing we'd tell stories about for years. The shaft went down about 40 feet and opened into a large chamber the size of a small house. Our headlamps illuminated stalactites hanging from the ceiling like teeth, and the walls were covered in strange formations, mineral deposits that glittered in our lights. Jake was ecstatic, said this was incredible, said he'd never seen anything like it, and he started taking pictures while Mia checked her GPS tracker to map our route. We explored the first chamber for maybe 20 minutes, finding several tunnels leading deeper into the system. Jake wanted to go deeper, wanted to see what else was down here, but Mia insisted we mark our path. She pulled out surveyor's tape, started tying bright orange ribbons to rock formations so we could find our way back. We chose the largest tunnel, headed in, the light from our headlamps bouncing off wet stone walls, and the tunnel sloped downward gradually at first, then more steeply, and the air got colder and damper, and I started to feel uneasy, started to feel like we were going somewhere we shouldn't. But I didn't say anything because everyone else seemed fine, seemed excited. After maybe 30 minutes of walking, we entered a second chamber smaller than the first, and this one was different. The rock formations here looked wrong, looked almost organic, like they were growing, like they were alive. The walls seemed to pulse in our headlamps, and there was a smell like rot, like something dead. And Mia said we should turn back, said something felt wrong here, but Jake laughed, said she was being paranoid, said it was just cave decay, organic matter decomposing, said it was natural, and he kept going deeper, and we followed, because we always followed Jake. The third chamber, that's where everything went wrong. We entered it through a narrow passage that opened suddenly into a vast space. Our headlamps couldn't reach the far walls, couldn't find the ceiling. It felt infinite, felt like we'd stepped into some underground cathedral. And the walls here, they weren't rock anymore. They were something else, something smooth and black, like polished obsidian, but warm to the touch. And when you looked close, you could see things moving inside the walls, shapes writhing just beneath the surface. Chris made a joke, tried to lighten the mood, said it looked like we'd found the final boss room in a video game, but his voice echoed wrong in that space, echoed back distorted, like multiple voices repeating his words. That's when we heard it, a sound from the darkness ahead, not an echo, not wind, but something alive, something breathing, something big. Jake pointed his headlamp toward the sound, and for just a second, we saw it. I can't describe it properly because my brain refuses to process what I saw. It was too large for the space it occupied. It had too many limbs, or maybe not enough. The geometry of it was wrong, like looking at an optical illusion that hurt to perceive. And it was looking at us. I don't know how I knew, because it didn't have eyes, or maybe it had too many, but I felt its attention focus on us. Felt it see us, and I felt its hunger. Mia screamed, told us to run, and we did. We turned and ran back toward the narrow passage, but the passage wasn't there anymore. The wall where it had been was smooth, unbroken, like the entrance had never existed, and we were trapped in that chamber with that thing. Jake was yelling, trying to find another way out, and Chris was crying, and Mia was checking her GPS, but it wasn't working. The screen just showed static, and behind us, we could hear it moving, hear it getting closer, and the sound it made was like rocks grinding together, like bones breaking, like screaming. I found a crevice in the wall, big enough to squeeze into, and I didn't think. I just pushed myself in as far as I could, and I watched from that hiding spot as that thing reached my friends. It took Jake first. He was backing away from it, headlamp shining directly at it, and he was screaming. And the thing reached out with something that might have been a limb and touched him, just touched his shoulder, and Jake stopped screaming, stopped moving, just stood there, frozen. And then he started to come apart. Not physically, his body stayed intact, but something else was being torn away. I could see it happening, could see pieces of Jake's existence being pulled into that thing, could see his memories, his personality, his very reality being consumed. And as it happened, Jake became less real, less solid, like he was fading from existence. and then he was gone. Not dead, not torn apart, just gone, erased. And the thing moved toward Mia. Mia tried to run, tried to get away, but it was so fast, impossibly fast. And it touched her, and the same thing happened. I watched her face as she realized what was happening. Watched her try to hold onto herself, try to stay real, but she couldn't. And she faded, and she was gone. Chris saw what happened, saw Jake and Mia disappear, and he did something I didn't expect. He pulled out his phone, started recording, started documenting, saying if he was going to die, someone needed to know what happened, someone needed to see this. And he held the phone up as the thing approached him, and he kept recording as it touched him, kept recording as he started to fade, and his last words were, "Tell my family, tell them I was real, tell them I existed." And then he was gone too, and I was alone, hiding in a crack in the wall, barely breathing, trying not to make a sound as that thing searched the chamber, searching for me. And I could feel it probing the darkness with whatever senses it had, and I knew it was only a matter of time before it found me. But then something changed. I felt, rather than saw, the thing's attention shift away from me towards something else. And when I risked a glance out from my hiding spot, I saw it. The thing was moving toward the center of the chamber, towards something on the ground, something that glowed with a faint, sickly light. It was an artifact, some kind of object, half buried in the chamber floor, and the thing was reaching for it, was trying to touch it, but couldn't, like there was some barrier preventing it. And I realized this object was important, realized it was connected to the thing somehow. And I did something incredibly stupid. I ran. I ran from my hiding spot straight toward that glowing object. And I grabbed it, pulled it from the ground, and the moment I touched it, I felt the weight of it. Not physical weight, but existential weight, like I was holding something that shouldn't exist, something that was too real for reality. The thing made a sound, a howl of rage or pain or loss, and it turned toward me, and I thought I was dead, thought it would erase me like it erased my friends, but it didn't. It couldn't. When I held that artifact, it couldn't touch me, couldn't affect me, and I ran. I ran with that thing chasing me, but I could feel the cave changing, feel reality shifting, and suddenly there was the narrow passage again, the entrance we'd used, and I squeezed through it, and I ran down the tunnel, following the orange ribbons Mia had tied, and behind me I could hear the thing following, could hear it scraping against the walls, could hear it screaming. I climbed that rope faster than I've ever climbed anything, my hands bleeding from the friction, my muscles screaming, and I pulled myself up out of the shaft, into daylight, into reality, and I collapsed on the ground, sobbing, clutching that artifact to my chest. I don't know how long I lay there, but eventually I heard voices, searchers. People had seen our car parked at the trailhead and called it in, and they found me alone, covered in blood that wasn't mine, holding an object they couldn't quite look at, couldn't quite perceive. They asked me where my friends were, and I told them the truth, told them they were in the cave, told them what happened, and they looked at me with pity, with concern, and they went in to search, but they found nothing. The chamber where it happened didn't exist anymore. The tunnels we'd walked through weren't there. The orange ribbons Mia had tied were gone. It was just a normal cave system, empty and safe and stable. And they came back up and said there was no evidence anyone else had been down there. That's when things got really strange. They brought me to the police station, asked me for my friends' information, asked me to call their families, and I gave them names, gave them phone numbers. But when they checked, the numbers didn't exist. The names weren't in any database. And when I insisted, they asked other people, asked students at our college, asked our professors, and everyone looked confused, said they didn't know who I was talking about, said they'd never heard of Jake or Mia or Chris. I pulled out my phone to show them pictures of us together, but the pictures were gone. Every photo I'd ever taken with them was just me alone, standing by myself in all those places we'd been together. And I started screaming, started insisting they were real, that they existed, but no one believed me. They think I had a psychotic break. They think I went into the cave alone, maybe with some homeless person or a stranger, and something bad happened, and my mind created these phantom friends to cope with whatever trauma I experienced. They've assigned me a psychiatrist. They're watching me. They're waiting for me to either confess what really happened or to remember the truth. But I know the truth. My friends were real. They existed. And then they didn't. Because that thing in the cave, it didn't just kill them. It erased them. It consumed their existence itself and removed them from reality. And now I'm the only one who remembers them. The only proof they ever lived. Except for what I can hear. I can hear them sometimes at night when everything is quiet. I can hear their voices coming from the artifact I took from the cave, calling my name, begging me to come back. And sometimes I hear other voices, to dozens of them, hundreds maybe. All the people who went missing in that cave over the years. All of them still there, still conscious, still suffering in whatever non-space that thing keeps them in. And the artifact, it's changing, growing, spreading. The box, I locked it and cracked open last night. And when I went down to check on it, the thing had grown tendrils, black and writhing, reaching out across my basement floor. And where they touch, reality seems to thin, seems to become translucent. And I can see through to somewhere else, somewhere dark, somewhere where shapes move that shouldn't exist. I think bringing it out was a mistake. I think that artifact was the only thing keeping that creature contained in that chamber. And now that it's here, now that it's free, the boundaries are weakening. And soon, that thing will be able to cross over, will be able to exist in our world. And when it does, everyone will be like my friends. Everyone will be erased. I've been researching the cave, trying to find some explanation for what happened, and I found things. Records of disappearances going back over a century, not just the 1970s, but 1,890 seconds, 1,920 seconds, 1,950 seconds. Every few decades, people would go into Blackwood Cave and never come out. And in every case, there would be searches, and they'd find nothing. No bodies, no evidence, no trace. But what's strange is that in most of the old newspaper reports, there are notes about discrepancies. Witnesses who insisted more people had gone in than came out. But when checked, there would be no records of the missing people, no families reporting them gone. It was always dismissed as mass hysteria or confusion. But now I understand what really happened. That thing has been in that cave for a very long time. And it's been feeding, slowly consuming people and erasing them from existence. And somehow, everyone just accepts it. Somehow, reality adjusts to fill the gaps left behind. And only those who were there at the moment of erasure remember the truth. I found one account from 1923. A woman who claimed her husband went into the cave with 3 friends, and only her husband came out. And he was mad, kept insisting his friends were still in there. But there were no records of those friends. The woman wrote that her husband died in an asylum 3 months later, kept raving about things in the dark, about artifacts, about reality coming apart. I think he brought something out too. I think he took an artifact from the cave, just like I did. And I think it drove him insane, just like it's driving me insane. Because I can't sleep anymore. Can't close my eyes without seeing them. Without seeing Jake and Mia and Chris being unmade, being erased. And I can hear them all the time now, not just at night, but constantly. Their voices overlapping, begging me to help them, begging me to bring back what I took. The artifact is in my basement, and it's taken over half the space now. The tendrils have spread across the floor, up the walls. And where they touch, photographs fade, text becomes illegible, reality becomes uncertain. I went down there this morning, and I saw something that terrified me. In the corner where the tendrils are thickest, there's a space, a gap in reality. And through that gap, I can see the chamber. I can see that place where my friends were erased. And I can see them, Jake and Mia and Chris. They're there in that space, not dead, not alive, but existing in some liminal state, trapped between being and non-being. And they're aware. They know what happened to them. And they're suffering. Jake saw me looking through the gap, and he reached toward me, and his mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear, but I could read his lips, and he said, "It hurts, Alex. It hurts to not exist. Please help us, please." I tried to respond, tried to tell him I was sorry, but the gap closed, and I was staring at a normal basement wall again. Except it wasn't normal, because I could still feel them on the other side, could feel their pain, their desperation. I know what I have to do. I know I need to take the artifact back, need to return it to the cave, but I'm terrified, because I don't know if I'll be able to come back out. I don't know if that thing will let me leave a second time. And even if I do return it, even if I put it back in that chamber, will it restore my friends? Will it undo what was done? Or will they be trapped there forever? The police are getting more suspicious. Yesterday, 2 detectives came to my house with a warrant to search the property, looking for evidence of what they think I did, looking for bodies or weapons or some proof that my story is a lie. And I watched them go into the basement, watched them approach the artifact. And the strangest thing happened. They couldn't see it. They walked right past it, walked through the tendrils that have spread across the room, and they saw nothing. Saw a normal, empty basement. And when they came back up, they said there was nothing suspicious down there. And I realized the artifact exists in the same liminal space as my friends, exists between reality and unreality. And only those who've touched it, who've been touched by it, can perceive it. Which means I'm alone in this. No one can help me. No one would believe me even if I could show them, because they literally cannot see what I see. Last night, I made a decision. I'm going back to the cave tomorrow. I'm taking the artifact, and I'm going to put it back, and I'm going to try to save my friends, even if it means becoming like them, even if it means being erased, because I can't live like this. Can't live knowing they're suffering because of a choice I made, because I took something that didn't belong to me. I've written everything down, put it in a sealed envelope, addressed to the police. If I don't come back, maybe someone will find it. Maybe someone will believe it. Probably not, but I have to try. I'm in my car now, driving toward the cave. The artifact is in a box in my passenger seat, and I can feel it pulsing. Can feel it pulling me back toward where it came from, like a compass pointing home. And the whispers are louder now. Jake and Mia and Chris calling my name. And underneath their voices, I can hear others. The chorus of everyone who's ever been taken, calling out from the darkness. The trail is empty. No one here to see me. No one to stop me. And I'm standing at the cave entrance now, looking down into that vertical shaft, into the darkness. And every instinct is screaming at me to run, to get away, but I can't. I won't. I'm tying the rope, securing my harness, and I'm going down. And the artifact in my backpack is getting heavier, getting warmer, and I can hear something echo up from the depths, something that might be laughter or might be hunger. The descent is easier this time, muscle memory from last week, and my headlamp illuminates the same chamber, the same stalactites, but something is different. The orange ribbons Mia tied their back. They weren't here when the searchers came down, but they're here now, leading deeper into the cave, and I understand. The cave is changing, is becoming what it was, is preparing for my return. I'm following the ribbons, following the path we took, and the tunnels are exactly as I remember them. And I can feel the artifact responding, can feel it vibrating with anticipation. And ahead, I can see the glow, the sickly light that marks the entrance to the chamber. I'm at the narrow passage now, and I can hear it on the other side. That thing, moving, waiting, and I'm scared. I'm so scared, but I'm crawling through, and I'm in the chamber, and it's there. The thing hasn't changed, hasn't grown or diminished. It exists in its impossible geometry, its wrongness, and it's aware of me, aware of what I'm carrying, and it's not moving, not attacking, just watching, and I can feel its hunger, but also something else. Curiosity, maybe, or recognition. I'm pulling the artifact from my backpack, and the moment it's free, the thing reacts. The chamber shudders, and the walls pulse, and I can see them. Jake and Mia and Chris. They're here in the chamber, but not fully present, like ghosts, like afterimages. And they're looking at me with hope, with desperation. I'm walking toward the center, toward the depression in the floor where I found the artifact. And the thing is following me, is moving with me, but still not attacking. And I realize it's waiting for me to complete what I started. I'm placing the artifact back in its hollow, and the moment it touches the ground, everything changes. The chamber erupts in light, not the sickly glow, but brilliant white light, and I can feel reality shifting, feel the weight of existence pressing down. And the thing is screaming, or maybe singing. And my friends, they're becoming more solid, more real. And I can see the process reversing, can see their existence being returned. Jake appears first, fully solid, fully real, gasping like he's been drowning, and he collapses to the ground. And then Mia, materializing out of nothing, screaming. And then Chris, stumbling into being, looking confused, looking terrified. They're back, they're real, and I'm crying and laughing, and I'm reaching for them, but the thing is not done. It's moving toward us, and I understand now. Understand what the artifact really is. It's not a prison. It's not a container. It's an anchor. It's what keeps the thing tied to this specific space. What prevents it from spreading? What keeps it contained? And by removing it, I gave it freedom. I allowed it to reach beyond the chamber, to start infecting reality. And by returning it, I've trapped it again. But the trap requires a price, requires balance. The thing reaches out, and I feel it touch my shoulder. And I know what's about to happen. I know I'm about to be erased, just like my friends were. And I accept it. I accept this as payment for my mistake. But then Jake is there. Jake is pushing me aside, is putting himself between me and the thing. And he's saying, "No, you brought us back. You saved us. Now run." And Mia and Chris, they're moving too. They're surrounding the thing. They're holding it back somehow. And Jake is screaming at me to go, to run, to get out while they hold it. And I'm paralyzed. I can't move, can't leave them again. But Chris looks at me and says, "We were already gone, Alex. We were erased. We don't fully exist anymore. Not really, not completely. We're echoes. We're ghosts. And this is where we belong. This is where we end. But you're still real, still whole. And you need to survive. You need to tell people we were real. Tell them we existed. And the thing is fighting them, is trying to reach me." And I can see Jake and Mia and Chris starting to fade, starting to be consumed again. And Jake looks at me one last time and says, "Thank you for coming back. Thank you for trying to save us. Now go, tell our story." And I run. I run toward the narrow passage. And behind me, I hear them screaming, hear them being erased all over again, but this time by choice, this time as heroes. And the passage is there, and I'm crawling through it, and I'm running down the tunnel, following the orange ribbons that are already starting to fade. I'm climbing the rope, and I'm pulling myself up into daylight, and I'm running from the cave entrance. And behind me, I hear a sound like reality sealing, like a wound closing. And when I look back, the entrance to the shaft is gone, covered over with smooth rock, like it was never there. I'm sitting here now, miles away from where the cave used to be, and I'm trying to process what happened. My friends are gone again, erased again, but this time, I know they made a choice. They chose to sacrifice themselves to keep that thing contained, to protect everyone else. And I'm the only one who remembers them, the only one who knows what they did. I checked my phone, and the pictures are still gone. The records still show no evidence they existed, but I remember Jake's adventurous spirit, Mia's intelligence, Chris's humor. I remember every moment we spent together, and I'm going to keep remembering. I'm going to tell their story, even if no one believes me, because they were real, they existed, they mattered, and they saved the world from something that would have unmade all of us. I don't know if the cave will ever open again. Don't know if that thing is truly contained. But I know my friends are at peace now. Know they chose their fate. Know they went out as heroes. And that has to be enough. That has to be. I'm writing this down, all of it, every detail, and I'm going to publish it, going to share it with anyone who will listen. And maybe people will think I'm crazy. Maybe they'll dismiss it as fiction. But somewhere, someone will read this and wonder, will look for records of Jake and Mia and Chris, and find nothing. And maybe they'll believe my friends were real. They existed, and they died twice, once as victims and once as heroes. And I'm the keeper of their memory, the only proof they were ever here. And I'll carry that burden for the rest of my life, gladly, because they deserve to be remembered, even if only by me, even if only in stories. They were real, they mattered, and I'll never forget them. Never. The cave is gone, my friends are gone, but their story remains. And as long as I'm alive, as long as I remember, they're not truly erased. They're here, in every word I write, in every story I tell. They exist in memory, if nowhere else, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's immortality. I miss them. I miss them so much. But I'm grateful I got to say goodbye, got to see them one more time, got to witness their courage. Jake, Mia, Chris, wherever you are, in whatever space exists between existence and nothing, I hope you can hear me. I hope you know I remember. I hope you're at peace. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for being my friends. Thank you for being real, even if only for a little while. I'll tell your story, I promise, forever.